Scientists have been on a big quest for as long as we can remember. They are looking for the very essence of you in the complex pathways of the brain. Their search has been for that core, that central command, that essential self that is living your life right now. They have spent decades looking for home and have finally come to the shocking and freeing conclusion that there is no one home. There is no tiny person in charge of your mind, no tiny CEO making all the decisions from a neural headquarters. They were wrong. What they found was much more beautiful and exciting. They found an enormous empty area, a bright emptiness where all of your thoughts, feelings, and understandings of the world constantly come and go, like waves on the surface of an endless ocean. Imagine the most beautiful music you've ever heard coming from a symphony orchestra that is playing in perfect harmony with no conductor in charge. Everything works together perfectly. There is a pure, mysterious harmony that just happens. Our most basic ideas about who we are have been completely turned upside down by this huge discovery. From a very young age, we are taught to believe that deep inside our heads, there's a small version of ourselves that is in charge of our lives and makes all the important decisions. The picture that neuroscience gives us, on the other hand, is very, very different. When scientists look inside a living brain with high-tech imaging tools, they don't see any light that says, "You are here." They can't find a central hub or one place where your identity is kept. Instead, they see huge networks of neurons firing in patterns that are beyond our comprehension. It turns out that consciousness is less like a single thing and more like the weather. It's a process that is always changing because of a lot of small interactions, not something that can be fixed in one place. What this means is absolutely mind-boggling and deeply empowering. If there is no central self, no little me running things, then what is this strong sense of being you that is always there for you, and you can't deny it? The answer to this question has led both scientists and philosophers to one of the most important truths in history. Your brain does not make consciousness. In fact, consciousness is the basic field, the very fabric of existence, in which everything you experience in life takes place. In this beautiful comparison, your brain is not the source of the broadcast. It's more like a very advanced radio receiver that tunes into the cosmic broadcast of consciousness instead of making it from scratch. You're not the machine. You're the lovely music that goes through it. These are some places where most people get lost, especially when they are doing things like meditation. Just knowing this one difference can change the way you see the world and yourself. We get confused when we think the voice of our inner voice is the silence of pure awareness. It is so common for people to get this mixed up that it has become the main thing that keeps them from connecting with the deeper, more peaceful parts of themselves. Let's look at how each part of you really works to lovingly untangle these two very different parts of you. That voice in your head that you know so well is your internal narrator. It has three main functions: to tell stories, to judge, and to cheer you on. The part of you that is always keeping an eye on what you think, feel, and do, and giving you a running commentary on your life. This is the voice that tells you whether you're doing a good or poor job while you meditate. That's the part of you that tells you you're bad when you do something wrong and gives you a hug when you're sad. It tries to label and describe you all the time, even though these labels are only temporary and move around like footprints in the sand. When your internal narrator is telling stories, it's a master at it. Things that happen to you during the day are put together in a way that makes sense and gives them meaning. This is a very creative way to connect things that might not really be linked. This creativity can be very clever, though. It's the voice that will make you think that the person who cut you off in traffic did it to be rude to you, or that your friend's short text message means they are mad at you. Your storyteller is always looking for a pattern or story to help them understand the world, even if there isn't one. You may feel like you know the judgment mode the best. This is your inner critic, the voice that keeps telling you that everything you do isn't good enough because you don't exist. It always looks at how you're doing, compares you to others, and almost always finds something you could do better. But this mode isn't just for complaining. That voice also pats you on the back and tells you how great you are when you do something well. It's just that both the harsh criticism and the sweet praise come from the same place, your conditioned mind, which is trying so hard to control your experience by judging it all the time. Then there's the mode where you cheer. The voice inside your head is trying to cheer you on, inspire you, and motivate you. That voice that tells you you can do this, or everything happens for a reason. And even though this voice can sound really nice and helpful, it's still the same mechanism at work. It's still your mind using words and comment to try to manage and control what you're experiencing. Self-talk, even the most positive kind, is still the work of the inner voice, not the stillness of pure awareness. Sometimes the internal narrator can seem like a calm, detached presence, watching your life from a safe distance. This makes it easy to mistake this voice for pure awareness. That voice you know is always there. It talks all the time. Pure awareness can even sound like it has the qualities we associate with it, such as being calm, wise, and acutely aware. This is why so many of us confuse what we think about being present with what it's really like to be present. Also, the internal narrator is very subtle. It talks to you in more than one way. It talks to you through strong images, sudden waves of emotion, and even feelings in your body. Self-consciousness that hits you out of the blue while you're walking down the street is your narrator making up a story about how other people might be judging you. If you feel good about yourself in a meeting, that's your narrator telling you a story about how smart you are. This ongoing story is always, always, always building your sense of self. The state of pure awareness, on the other hand, is completely silent. It's just a witness. It doesn't comment, think, or analyze. It does nothing but watch and take in everything that is happening to you, without judging or reacting in any way. Your inner voice of reason is also picked up by pure awareness. It hears every sad story, every harsh word, and every kind word. It doesn't change or fix anything, though, because it doesn't need to. On a deepest level, it already knows that none of these mental activities or stories capture your true, essential nature. There is nothing empty or void about this silence. There is a stillness that is alive and present. It's the huge difference between the dead silence of a radio that has been turned off and the electric, tense silence of a concert hall right before the orchestra starts to play. Pure awareness is alive with a vibrant presence and is full of infinite potential, but it is still and quiet at the same time. It's the loving space where your whole life takes place, but nothing you do or experience can touch or change it. Being aware of nothing has a plan. It doesn't wish you had different thoughts. It doesn't say whether your feelings are good or bad. It doesn't want to make your experience better in any way. It just lets things be the way they are. At first, this can be very unsettling, especially for people whose minds are always trying to clean up, organize, and make their lives better. Pure awareness is deeply and completely accepting, not in a weak or defeated way, but in a strong way, like how the big, open sky accepts every cloud that floats through it. The sky and the clouds are like the sky, and the clouds are like your pure awareness. There is no way that the clouds can change the sky. They can be light and pretty, or dark and stormy. They can be thick or thin. No matter what the weather is like, a light summer breeze or a fierce hurricane, the sky stays the same. The same way, your pure awareness stays the same whether your inner voice is harshly critical or incredibly supportive, and whether your thoughts are jumbled or calm. When you feel like you can hear the silent watcher inside you, press the like button. This is more than just a click. It's a deliberate action. You are sending a wave of resonance into the quantum field when you like this transmission. This energy of pure awareness will then be activated and amplified in your own life. You can affirm this truth in the comments below by writing, "I am the sky." The fact that you are typing these words should be a sign of your inner freedom. It tells yourself and the universe that you are the vast, open, and peaceful sky that all thoughts and feelings appear in. It all fits into you, and you stay whole and unaltered. You find something mind-blowing when you really start to settle into this space of pure awareness, like when you're meditating or when you're in a deep state of stillness. You understand that this awareness, this quiet watcher inside you, is not even unique to you. The consciousness that is seeing your thoughts right now is the same consciousness that is seeing my thoughts. It is the same consciousness that sees your friend's thoughts, the thoughts of a hermit in a mountain monastery, and even the thoughts of a stranger daydreaming on a Berlin train. This consciousness is the same, but the thoughts, feelings, and life experiences that make up each of our lives are different. But the space itself, the awareness that sees everything, doesn't change at all. It hasn't been changed in any way and is shared by everyone. The great mystics and sages of the past have called this deep understanding the ultimate truth. It's not enough to say that we are all connected. We are all different forms of the same basic consciousness. What we think are the lines between us and other people, and between our inner world and the outside world, are actually just ideas in our heads that have nothing to do with reality. Being aware of something and being aware of something else are not the same thing. They are the same awareness, but they show up in the world as two different streams of experience. This isn't just a nice philosophical thought to think about. You can have a direct, lived experience as soon as you stop identifying with your thoughts and start resting as the awareness that has always been here. When you realize that the awareness reading these words is the same awareness writing them, that this awareness has seen every moment of human history, and that this awareness is present in every conscious being in the universe, you start to feel a deep change inside you. You start to change how you relate to yourself, to other people, and to life itself. When you can tune out the noise in your mind, you realize that the person you are arguing with or deeply in love with is alive because of the same awareness that gives you life. Your internal narrator comes from the way your mind has been trained, how you were raised, your culture, your deepest fears, your biggest goals, and all of your hidden insecurities have all shaped and formed it. At its core, it's your personal history playing over and over again, projecting the same patterns from your past onto the present and the future you imagine. This inner voice comes from a very deep set of experiences. It begins when you are very young and learn to tell the difference between self and other, or me and not me. This first difference in how you see things sets the stage for all the conditioning that comes after. You form beliefs about who you are, what you can do, what you deserve, and what is possible for you in this life as you grow up. These beliefs, which you probably don't even realize you have, become the powerful lens that your inner voice uses to make sense of all of your experiences. A lot of what programs this voice is cultural conditioning. It's likely that your inner voice will always be comparing your success to other people's if you grew up in a culture that values competition and individual success. It's likely that your inner voice will be focused on how well you fit in with the group if you grew up in a culture that values community harmony and conformity. Our minds are so deeply set on these cultural programs that most of us never even think to question them. We think that the way we see and understand reality is the only way there is. It's even stronger when it comes from family. Things like how your parents interacted with you, the messages you got about your worth and skills, and the general mood of your home as a child, all affect how your internal narrator is programmed. If a child grew up with parents who were very critical, that child will almost certainly become highly critical themselves. A child who grew up with anxious parents will likely develop an internal narrator who is always looking for potential dangers. In deep ways, your inner voice is also shaped by your religious and spiritual upbringing. The voice inside your head will always be judging your thoughts and actions if you were taught as a child that you are fundamentally flawed or sinful. If you were taught as a child that you are divine by nature, your inner voice might form a spiritual ego that criticizes others for not being as evolved spiritually as you are. The more loving and positive thoughts you have, the nicer and more developed your inner voice can become. Because of this, practices like affirmations, gratitude, and loving-kindness meditation can be so very helpful. They don't get rid of the internal narrator, but they can change it so that it helps you more and hurts you less as you go on your journey. It is important to remember, though, that the internal narrator is still the internal narrator, even if it is a loving and positive one. Still, it's your trained mind trying to make sense of and comment on your experience. You have to look in a whole new area to really know the limitless peace of pure awareness. As you look beyond your thoughts, your mental conditioning, and your own past, you must see beyond these things. Someone or something inside you is pure awareness. This awareness is not affected by your story, your personality, your biggest successes or failures. It is in the present moment, which will never end. It's not caught up in your past or worried about what might come next. There is nothing else like it right now, right here. Since reality only exists in the present moment, it is the only place where pure awareness can be found. The past is only a memory, a bunch of thoughts and pictures that come to mind right now. The future is only in your mind. It's made up of thoughts and images that are happening right now. The only thing that is real is the present moment, and pure awareness is what that moment is made of. Pure awareness listens while your inner narrator talks. Pure awareness simply exists while your internal narrator evaluates. We are not living a passive, lifeless life. It is the most active, alive, and full of life existence you can imagine. Being fully aware is where all creativity, intelligence, and love come from. It is not separate from life. It is life itself. Everything is in the present moment. You can remember everything that happened to you in the past, right now. As a potential, you have access to all of your future options right now. Everything about you, your relationships, your dreams, your fears, your hopes, is in this present moment. Being fully aware of the present moment is the only way to directly experience its infinite riches. You are called the eternal observer in old holy books, like the Bhagavad Gita. You are what modern spiritual leaders like Eckhart Tolle call pure consciousness. Even though your skeptical mind might try to stop you, the more you tune into this quiet awareness, the clearer this truth becomes. Your mind has been trained for years to think that you are your thoughts, your feelings, your personality, and your story. Any resistance you feel comes from this. The thought that you could be something much bigger and more basic than all of that is very dangerous to your established identity. It is normal for there to be resistance like this. Your conditioned mind has spent your whole life building a strong and detailed sense of who you are, and it won't easily give up control. It will do everything it knows to keep you wrapped up in your stories and thoughts. It will make you have amazing spiritual experiences that make you feel deep, but keep you in the mind. It will lead to insights that seem revolutionary, but are really just more advanced versions of patterns that have already been learned. It's important to know that you don't have to fight this resistance. You don't have to beat your trained mind or get rid of your inner voice of reason. All you have to do is realize that they are all just things that happen, like clouds moving across the sky of your pure awareness. They are not who you really are. Instead of trying to get rid of your thoughts, learn to rest as the awareness in which they come up. This will change everything. There is only one thing about you that stays the same over time, and that is your awareness. Give this some thought. Over the years, everything else about you has changed completely. What you like and don't like, your personality, your body, and even your core sense of who you are. In almost every way that can be measured, you were a very different person 10 years ago. Your body has turned over almost all of its cells. Your personality has changed as a result of life. What you believe has changed. The way you relate to people has changed. Your hopes and dreams have changed. But the pure awareness that you have, it hasn't changed at all. The way your awareness saw the world when you were a child is the same way it sees it now. Just because this is a smart idea doesn't mean you have to believe it. What is it that makes you remember being 5 years old? What do you think about when you picture yourself being 90 years old? Right now, there is the same quiet awareness that doesn't change. This means that there is a part of you that exists outside of time and is not affected by any of the stories your mind has made up about you. This isn't just a nice thought. It's a realization that will change your life. Your relationship with aging, death, and all other types of change completely changes when you realize that your essential nature is timeless. You start to see them as things that are happening inside you instead of as threats to your very existence. This is the same consciousness that saw the universe come into being. Through their quiet, faraway light, the stars show the same deep stillness. You've been here all along. This consciousness didn't start when your body was born, and it won't end when it dies. It is the eternal background against which your whole life plays out. Birth and death are just experiences that come and go in this timeless awareness. It's not a New Age meditation trend to be aware of this. It is an eternal truth that has been studied by some of the smartest people in history. Think about Einstein, the early quantum physicists, and the ancient wisdom keepers. They were all describing the same basic reality in their own unique ways. Einstein talked about a cosmic religious feeling that happens when you realize that your separate individual existence is just a dream. Quantum physicists have found that consciousness is a key part of the famous collapse of the wave function. This means that at the most basic level, reality itself seems to depend on an act of observation. This idea of awareness goes all the way back to the Upanishads, which are some of the oldest and deepest spiritual writings ever made. They talk about the Atman, or eternal self, as the silent observer of all experience. Similar practices were taught by Stoic philosophers, like the great Marcus Aurelius. They told you to observe your mind as if you were outside of it, taking calm notes on your thoughts without getting caught up in them or identifying with them. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his book Meditations, "Know this, and you will be strong." This is not about taking charge of your thoughts. It's about realizing that you are the awareness that thoughts come from, not the thoughts themselves. The Stoics knew that our pain isn't caused by the things that happen in our lives, but by how we think about those things. This strong Stoic view comes naturally when you learn to see yourself as pure awareness. You start to understand that the things you think about are not the things themselves. You understand that you can't always change what happens to you, but you can always change how you react to it. Click the subscribe button and the bell to keep getting this stream of energizing energy and learn more about these truths. Not only are you going to get new videos, but you will also make a conscious, energetic connection, a steady flow of quantum potential that tunes you in to the frequency of your own timeless nature. Feeling moved by this realization? Ground it in your reality by leaving a comment below with "I am timeless." These words should help you remember that your age, your past, or your worries about the future don't define you. Writing these words, you recognize the part of you that doesn't change, the quiet awareness that has been with you from the beginning and always will be. What makes you who you are is a story that your mind is always writing and changing. The way it obsessively puts memories and experiences together is like a master storyteller. This story is really interesting. It has a main character, dramatic plot twists, conflicts, resolutions, and themes that come up again and again. You are the author, the main character, and the audience all at the same time in this story. It seems so real, important, and a big part of who you are. But stories aren't true. That's the secret. They are ideas about reality, not reality itself. Your life story is a heavily edited and shortened version of what really happened to you. It draws attention to some events and ignores others completely. It makes links between causes and effects that might not exist. It gives things a sense of meaning that might not be based on anything. The most important thing is that it gives you the impression of a solid, continuous self that lasts over time. When in reality, you are a process that is always changing and growing. Human consciousness has an amazing ability to take a step back from the flow of life and think about itself, to become aware of its own existence, and even evaluate how well it works. The mind works a lot like a complex feedback loop, which is an idea from engineering that lets a system control itself. This feedback system lets any system see what happens when it does something and then change things based on what it learns. This feedback loop gets unbelievably complicated when it comes to human consciousness. There's more to being aware than just being aware of what you're doing. You are also aware of it. You are thinking more than just thinking. You are thinking about how you are thinking. You are feeling more than just feeling. You are feeling about how you feel. This makes you think about yourself over and over again, and it can get so complicated that you lose track of what is really happening and what you are just thinking about. This back and forth can turn into a trap. You can lose touch with the direct, raw experience of life itself if you spend too much time tracking and changing your inner experience. Instead of living in the present moment, you start living in your head all the time. Because of this, a lot of people say they feel disconnected from their own lives, like they're watching a movie of their life instead of living it. But this ability to think about yourself can also be the key to your freedom. When you use this amazing skill to become aware of awareness itself, you find the source from which everything inside you comes. You understand that you are consciousness itself, not just the things that are in your consciousness. Spiritual awakening is all about making this change from getting lost in the story to seeing yourself as the storyteller and, finally, as the silent awareness from which all stories come. You've probably noticed that some people really want to be the center of attention. Things that happen in your mind work the same way. Minds are like kids who want to be the center of attention. People want to be seen, heard, and taken seriously. When you pay this much attention to your thoughts, they grow and get stronger. When you stop giving them your attention, they will start to quiet down on their own. This doesn't mean you should try to stop or hide your thoughts. That's not possible, and it would only make things worse between you and yourself. You learn how to change your relationship with your thoughts in a more gentle way. Instead of being the show's star, you become the loving, calm crowd. In this case, you don't take part in the drama. Instead, you just watch it happen. As you become more aware of yourself as pure awareness, you'll begin to see that your thoughts are like the noise in a busy cafe. They are happening and are there, but they don't need your focused attention. You can be aware of them without being caught up in them. You don't have to listen to them to hear them. You don't have to believe them to see them. This new way of looking at things is very freeing. For those who understand they are not their thoughts, they can think whatever they want without being limited by them. You don't have to be angry to think angry thoughts. Thoughts of fear can happen to someone who is not afraid. You don't have to be sad to think sad thoughts. Your thoughts are like the weather. They just move through the big, open sky of your awareness. Focus on this state of pure awareness. The method is very easy to understand. Being aware of what you're doing gets easier the more you do it. Getting used to a new phone or bike is like learning how to ride a bike. It takes less conscious effort the more you practice. At first, you will have to remind yourself to change your identity to awareness. But if you keep at it gently, this will become your normal state over time. The goal of the practice is not to reach a mysterious higher state of consciousness. The consciousness that is already here and has always been here is what it's about. Realizing that you are aware is enough. You don't need to make yourself aware. You do not need to become enlightened. You only need to realize that your essential nature is already enlightened and always has been. This realization can come to you in a flash, but putting this truth into practice in your daily life takes time and care. Your conditioned mind will always try to make you feel like you are the same as your thoughts and stories. This is completely normal and what you should expect. Being very patient and kind to yourself is very important as you slowly change your identity from the things that are in your consciousness to consciousness itself. Doing nothing but quiet observation for long periods of time is in no way strange or off. This is something that cats, dogs, and many other animals that seem restless do naturally. This sacred art is practiced by native people from all over the world. There is no struggle for animals to be present. They are present. There's no need for them to practice mindfulness because they are mindfulness itself. It looks like humans are the only living things on Earth that have forgotten how to do this. Our minds have become so complex and analytical that we have forgotten how to just be. We're so caught up in our thoughts that we've forgotten about the still, knowing that has always been there. There's so much to do that we've forgotten how to be. People who have developed their analytical minds so much that they can't stop guessing what will happen tomorrow and need constant mental stimulation just to keep their anxiety at bay often find it the hardest. It looks like not being able to sit still and watch the world with a calm mind means not being able to fully enjoy the beautiful world we live in. You can't really understand reality by just thinking about it. First, you need to have a more direct experience of it, and learn how to hold on to that experience without rushing to label it or come to a conclusion about it. A lot of people are afraid to let go of their tight grip on their thinking minds. They are scared of having nothing to hold on to when they fall into a big void. It's totally normal to feel this way. Your thinking mind has been your main tool for figuring out how to live a complicated life. It seems like giving up thinking would make you completely helpless and open to harm. This fear, though, comes from a deep misunderstanding of what thinking is and what pure awareness can do for you. Thinking is not who you are. It's just a tool. You do not lose the ability to think when you learn to see yourself as pure awareness. For that matter, you learn how to use your thinking intentionally and consciously instead of letting it use you. If you need to think, you can. If you don't need to think, you can rest in silent awareness. You stop being a slave to your mind and become its master. People don't understand that this empty space isn't really empty. As such, it is the real aspect of the sacred. There is an infinite amount of potential in this void. It's where all of your thoughts, feelings, and experiences come from. It is not a blank nothingness. It is a bright fullness that holds everything but is not connected to anything. The holy is not something separate from your everyday life. It is what your everyday life is made of. Each and every moment, breath, thought, and feeling is holy because they come from the holy space of your awareness. Once you understand this, your whole life turns into a spiritual practice. To experience the sacred, you don't have to go to or do important things. All you have to do is see that what is already here is sacred. This void can't be found or pursued. You can't understand it by using your mind or by gathering facts. It's not something that can be put into words, touched, or gained by doing good things. It's not something that can be found or a state that can be reached. It is the very core of who you are and what you are. Being close to it is impossible because you are it already. You already have it, so you can't get it. It's not lost, so you can't find it. This is the reason why all spiritual search ends in failure. You can't look for something that is already there. What you already have can't be changed. You can't change into what you are. It is important to remember that all spiritual practices, teachings, and techniques are just a way to get back to where you are now, before you start any practice or follow any teaching. Giving in to what seems like emptiness, on the other hand, is the awakening itself. Being able to dissolve into the infinite and realize that you were never separate from it is what it is. Let go of this is not the same as giving up. It's giving in. It's a win, not a loss. It's not a loss. It's the best discovery ever. You realize you were never separate from awareness when you stop trying to grab it and instead let it embrace you. When you finally understand that all your resistance is pointless, you naturally give up. You can't change consciousness, just like you can't change the weather. Thoughts are like the ocean. They can't be controlled. There is no such thing as pure awareness, just like there is no such thing as empty space in a room. Letting go of what you can't change is the only sensible thing to do. Rest as the person you already are. This empty space is not nothing. It is where everything comes from. Thought, form, and even time itself keep coming from this one source. It is the place where everything starts, the matrix of all manifestation, and the source of all possibilities. Whole universes are born from this emptiness. All sounds come from this silence. Everything that moves comes from this stillness. Everything changes when you understand this creative part of your awareness. When you realize this, you realize that you are not just a passive observer of reality. You are also creating it. The force that made the universe is part of your consciousness. It is the force that made the universe. The universe is making itself through you with every thought, feeling, and action. This creative power is not something you have. It's who you are. You are creative power, not creative power itself. You are consciousness, not consciousness having you. There is no such thing as awareness. You are awareness. Spiritual realization is all about making this deep change from having to being. What's really interesting is that this realization creates a beautiful paradox that mystics have been trying to explain for thousands of years. You are both the one watching and the thing being watched at the same time. The observer and the observed are shown to be the same field of consciousness, having an experience. Not just pretty philosophical writing. This is the real, lived experience that comes up when you stop trying to find yourself and just rest as the awareness that is already here. All suffering comes from the basic duality that this paradox breaks down. When you realize that there is no difference between the observer and the observed, between you and someone else, or between your consciousness and what it holds, you find a peace that you can't explain. You no longer have to defend or protect anything or become anyone. You are already whole, finished, and perfect just the way you are. The long search for enlightenment is over when you realize that you were always both looking for something and the thing itself. In the end, the spiritual path is a circle. You start out right where you are now, but you see it for the first time. It dawns on you that the thing you had been looking for all over the world was already here, closer than your breath and deeper than your thoughts. This doesn't mean the trip was for nothing. The journey was necessary for you to reach this deep understanding. Because you are awareness itself, everything you looked for, did, and learned led you back to this one simple, beautiful truth. The journey doesn't end when you reach a certain state. It ends when you realize who you are and how you've always been. Realizing that your awareness literally shapes the reality you experience is the next step after realizing that you are an observer. Through the simple but powerful act of observing, the observer effect in quantum physics explains why your consciousness doesn't just see reality, but also helps make it. Feeling this ultimate truth's power? Say it out loud in the comments by writing, "I am the source." In this act, you should be aware of your own creative power. It's a confirmation that you are not just a passive character in a story that's already been written. You are the universe's creative force expressing itself. Your dream is you, and you are the source from which all possibilities flow. Also, send this video to someone you think is ready to hear it. Sharing is the highest form of energy exchange. When you give energy, you activate and amplify it within yourself, sending a wave of coherence out into the world.